Hey everyone, welcome to another unboxing video, and today we're going to look at the Spektrum NX8 transmitter. If you've been following my videos over the last few years, you know that I've been flying with this DX6 radio. It's been, I've had this is my Gen 2 model. I've had this thing for, I don't know, 5-6 years now, and it's been an absolutely fantastic radio. No complaints whatsoever. But I'm kind of getting to the point in the hobby in which 6 channels is really just not enough. And what I really started to notice that is if I got an aircraft with flaps, retracts, and safe as well. And if I wanted to have the option to bind with safe, and I don't want it tied to the flaps or the gear or anything like that, I want to operate everything independently, I'm just simply out of channels. And what I realized too is with the Turbo Timber Revolution, the ability to reverse the motor to back up, which is very important if you have a float plane. You might not need it as much on the ground, but if you have a float plane, I tell you what, that can really make a huge difference in backing up on the water. I know that it would have saved me a few times from having to wander out into the water to retrieve my airplane because it gets hung up on something. And to do that, I need more than 6 channels. I need at least 7. So made the decision that now is the time to go ahead and put the DX6 away and upgrade to this brand new NX8 transmitter. And the NX series is the replacement for the DX series, and it came out I don't know, maybe about a year ago, maybe even a little less than that. But I think I've held on to my DX6 as long as I possibly can, and it's time for me to upgrade to something a little bit different. So let's go ahead and get this NX8 out of the box, shall we? All right, so the first thing you come into is a whole series of stickers. So you can put these on anything you want. I don't know if you want to put them on your airplane or maybe on your carrying case that you put your radios in, but you get a whole bunch of stickers that come with it. You get a very large instruction manual here. Of course, this does include a number of different languages, but I would encourage you to make sure you read the manual. There's a lot of information in here that you probably need to be well aware of before you go out and operate your new transmitter. So by all means, don't forget to look at the manual and read it. But now comes the part that you've all waited for, and that's actually getting the transmitter out of the box, all right? Everything is nicely wrapped in plastic here. As you can see, you've got a transmitter. We have a USB cord. This will also be the cord to charge it, which we'll get to when we get to the actual transmitter. But it's got a micro USB on it and a full-size USB on this side. You just need a wall adapter, or you can plug it into, like, I don't know, your computer, and you can go ahead and charge the rechargeable battery that's in it. You also get a small Allen wrench that comes in here as well. And we'll just set these items off to the side. We have a neck strap, which is great. I used to try to fly these radios without a neck strap, and it's amazing how much these can really make a difference at kind of reducing some of that fatigue and take a little bit extra load off. But now the part we've all waited for, including myself. Here is the NX8 from Spektrum. So as you can see, it looks very similar to my DX6, right? So not a lot of differences here. Obviously, we got 8 channels versus the 6, but you can also tell there is a little bit of difference here and there. The antenna, for instance, is foldable in the NX series, which I think is pretty cool if you want to put it into a smaller container or you just want to protect that. You do get the R knob up here as well. You got the bind switch is in the same spot. Most of these switches are in the exact same spot. So if you've gone from a DX6 and you want to go to the NX8, you'll be very familiar with where the buttons are located at. However, there are a couple new ones that are located on here, and a couple that are 2-position switches on the DX6 that are now 3-position on the NX8. And where that's really important is if you have, let's say you have flight modes, you have a high rate and a low rate mode programmed on your DX6, and you transfer that file to your NX8, be aware that now that's a 3-position switch, so you may need to reassign what position does what, because now you went from a 2 to a 3. Another thing to note is that these are Wi-Fi capable transmitters now, which is great because you can get your AirWare updates sent right over to here. You could download stuff right to your radio using the Wi-Fi connection. Just connect it to your Wi-Fi at your house, and you are then available to get some updates and downloads directly from the internet. You don't have to transfer it or plug it into a computer. It does include a rechargeable battery here in the back. Pop that open. There we go. It's got a lithium ion battery in the back, and that charges with the included USB cable as well. So make sure to get that back in there. There we go. So the USB cable simply plugs into the back here, and you're good to go. It also has a data port on the back that you can apply other items to. So if you do a lot of FPV flying or anything else, you can plug into that. And then it's got a headphone jack as well. So a couple other things to note is that the screen here, I'm actually just going to go ahead and power it on. The power button is actually the little Spektrum symbol up here. And you got a whole new screen now. It's a much brighter screen than what I had on my DX6. And it's also customizable, so you can actually go in here and change some of the colors in here. And then otherwise, it operates very similar to the DX6. So if you're familiar with how the menus and stuff work, it's going to be very similar. There's a lot more in the menus than in the DX6, of course, because this does a lot more things. And so you'd expect that you're going to have a lot more capability with this new NX series radio than you had with the DX series, even with the latest firmware updates. So a couple other things before we wrap this one up. To turn it off, just hold for a few seconds there, and there's the little dinkle-dink sound that tells you that the transmitter is now off. Now if you are flying with a DX6 and you want to upgrade to your NX8 here, and let's say you got 40-50 models stored on this DX6, and you do not want to re-enter all those in and start from scratch, you can transfer the file from your DX6 to an NX8 using an SD card. But a few little tips on that. This uses a full-size SD card, and this uses a micro SD card. So if you have that situation going on, you're either going to need to use the adapter to go from a micro to a regular SD card, and put that into your DX6, and download the data from here, and then import it into the NX8 by taking the micro SD card out and plugging it in. Or you're going to have to transfer it to a computer from the regular SD card and then put it on your micro. It's up to you however you want to do it. But just to let you guys know, you need a class 4 SD card, both the full-size one to get the information off the DX6 and a class 4 micro SD card to get the information on the NX8. Unfortunately, as it turns out, I have a whole box full of class 10 micro SD cards from my GoPro cameras, and they will not work on this. They will not be. I cannot read them for whatever reason. It just doesn't work. So if you run into that issue, you're going to want to make sure that you're using a class 4 SD card. I'd recommend like a SanDisk or one of the very well name brand ones here. I wouldn't buy the cheapest one you can find and expect that to work. Stick with a name brand one, and you should then be able to take your data from your DX6, export it onto the SD card, and import it into your NX8. And then also, as a reminder, you do need to rebind your aircraft. Because remember, the aircraft is still going to be bound to your DX6, even though you've transferred the file over to the NX8. That doesn't mean that the link has been established between the receiver and the transmitter. So you will need to rebind. That actually works out pretty well for me because that gives me the opportunity to bind a lot of my aircraft in safe mode that I did not have before when I had my DX6. So just as a reminder that when you go to your field for the first time and you have your trusty airplane that you've flown with and you move that file over and you wonder why it doesn't work, well, that's because you need to rebind the aircraft, and of course also should always do a range check as well when operating with a new radio. So otherwise, I kind of covered a lot of the basics really on an NX8. To learn more about it, obviously visit either the Spektrum or the Horizon Hobby website. But at this point, I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up and begin the file transfer from my DX6 to my NX8 so I can go out and use this thing and fly it. So if you've got any questions on it, I will do my very best to answer it. I am by far no means an expert when it comes to transmitters or a lot of the technology that's built inside here, but I'll do my very best to answer whatever questions you guys may have. Thanks again, and subscribe for even more great videos covering the RC hobby. Similar to my DX6. Slide this out of the way here. Once again, a lot of this is in multiple different languages, but there's a lot of details here that you're going to want to review if you're oh bumps. We're going to have to start this one over. Right?
Good.
It's DX6 here. This is the Gen 2 model, and I've been flying with this for a number of years, and I've kind of got to the point where a 6-channel transmitter is just not going to be the most effective way for me to fly. And the reason is when I bought this, I thought I would never need more than 6 channels. And as it turns out, you can quickly run
Cut.
bumps.